Welcome to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Joyous conversations about what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about our one reality. You have nothing to fear. You are eternal and you are perfectly loved. Knowing the truth changes everything. Now, here's Roberta.
Welcome to Seek Reality. I'm Roberta Grimes, and I'm so happy you're with us today. This is going to be a lot of fun. My dear friends, I consider our greatest problem, you may have your own ideas, I consider our problem to be the fact that all of the experts that we most trust in the fields of science, business, government, and academia are all altogether clueless about what actually is going on. And in some cases, even worse is the problem that they're so much afraid that they're trying to hide from us whatever truths they do happen to come across or even suspect. But fortunately, there are people of courage who have done the work and are not afraid to speak out. Mark Gober is with us again today for the fifth time, and Mark has emphatically taken not one, but a whole fistful of the proverbial red pills. He started out as a Princeton graduate, a tennis champion, and a Silicon Valley investment banker. And then he learned what you and I know, which is that consciousness is a source of reality. And he wrote An End to Upside Down Thinking, dispelling the myth that the brain produces consciousness and the implications for everyday life. He followed that book with An End to Upside Down Living, reorienting our consciousness to live better and save the human species. His third book was An End to Upside Down Liberty, which the subtitle was Turning Traditional Political Thinking on Its Head to Break Free from Enslavement. I think I would have loved that book, but we don't do politics on Seek Reality, so we had to take a pass on that one. But his fourth book is right up our alley. It's called An End to Upside Down Contact, UFOs, Aliens, and Spirits, and Why Their Ongoing Interactions with Human Civilization Matters. And wow, my dear friends, we are about to venture down the rabbit hole together today. Mark, welcome. We're so glad to have you back with us again.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Roberta.
This book really needed to be researched and it needed to be written, and I'm so glad you're the one who did it. The whole first part really is going to be well-trod ground for Seek Reality listeners. The first part, deathbed visions. We've talked about deathbed visions. Do you have anything that you think is probably new or radical for us to think about?
I think your audience is probably familiar. The reason that I mentioned deathbed visions and things like it is that the book tries to aggregate the many instances in which human beings have contact with other intelligences, whether it's a being of light, whether it's angels, whether it's deceased relatives, whether it's sometimes demonic beings are described. So that's really the theme of deathbed visions and other phenomena like it.
Yeah, because mostly what happens with deathbed visions is our loved ones come to get us, because we are as clueless when we leave our bodies at death as we were when we left our mother's bodies when we were born. And as people know who've been frequent listeners, our loved ones come to get us and they take us where we're going next. So as long as you follow the people who've come to get you, you're going to be fine. If you don't, if you go off track, you could become what's really commonly called a ghost and be stuck for a while until people come to get you later. And we don't want that to happen. And the same with shared death experiences. Often, or maybe not so often, people will end up going part of the way with someone that they love on the journey. They can't go all the way, but they can go part of the way. And near-death experiences, of course, are my particular bugaboo, because people who have had a near-death experience don't realize that they're going, basically, this is like a dream experience in the astral plane, but we are attached still to our earthly body. And so we don't go to where the dead are. We go to the astral. It's a general it's something that actually most people don't understand, that we tend to travel in the astral every night while our bodies sleep, but we're still attached to our material bodies by what the actually by what our ancient ancestors called the silver cord. It actually can be seen in dim light. The book of Ecclesiastes 12:6 mentions it. It's mentioned in the Bible. It's called the silver cord. And so we don't need to talk much about that either, unless you think we have something new that you've kind of come up with.
No, I think your audience is probably familiar. I just want to emphasize, when I write these books, I'm writing it for both a spiritual audience, but also for audiences that have never heard of these topics before. So someone like me 6+ years ago, when I didn't know anything about other realms, I was very much an atheist, agnostic. I thought life was random and meaningless. So these topics, which to your audience might be very basic, it's life-changing for other people. And that's another reason I wanted to include them and aggregate the evidence in this book.
Okay, so those are our familiar areas. So now we're going to take a deep dive into new stuff. And so you're going to be our guide. Take it over and tell us where you're taking us now. And the rest of the book I read pretty deeply. So let's go.
Okay. Well, the book is called An End to Upside Down Contact, and it's looking at what are examples of non-human intelligences that human beings are having contact with. And one area is what you described, deathbed visions, near-death experiences. I call that in the book non-UFO contact. But then there's a big chunk of UFO related contact, meaning contact related to an apparent craft, like an actual craft where beings seem to exist. And just to give a general overview, what is reported, and this has been reported going way back to ancient history, but also in more recent times, people encounter a variety of species of beings, some of which are described as gray aliens. Sometimes they're insectoid beings, sometimes they're reptilian beings. And to just give a little bit of credibility to what might sound totally insane, this topic was studied extensively by Dr. John Mack, who was the head of psychiatry at Harvard. And he was a Pulitzer Prize winner, so about as credible as you could get. And he began to hear about cases of people who claimed they were abducted by some of these beings. And what he concluded after speaking to these people and bringing them under hypnosis, sometimes they had memories without hypnosis, but other times hypnosis helped to unlock other memories. He concluded that they largely were not psychotic and something legitimate was happening. And I'll mention one more thing before I pause, Roberta, that what John Mack was seeing in these alleged abduction cases, after talking to many people, matches what people have described on the psychedelic DMT, particularly in studies by Dr. Rick Strassman at the University of New Mexico. People were given DMT intravenously, dimethyltryptamine, and essentially whatever blockage to the other dimensions that our brain seems to have, this psychedelic unlocks that filter. And what Dr. Strassman was very surprised to find was that people were describing, while their bodies were with him, their consciousness seemed to be going to other dimensions where they were encountering very similar beings and similar experiences to what's described in abduction cases, even some of the similar procedures, which John Mack found very interesting. So I will just pause there because I know I said a lot.
No, I think that's great. We don't, in the work that I do, it's surprising, given how much you found of this stuff, it surprises me how little, in doing our afterlife work, how little of it we've encountered. As I was reading your book, I decided a significant part of it is probably dreams, but by no means all of it is dreams. And I'd like you to talk quite a bit more about what you found. And then as we come toward the end of our time, I'd like to tell you what we've been told by upper level beings who have wanted us to understand some things that are going on the earth being done by benevolent beings, which is very reassuring because of some things that are being done by non-benevolent beings, which made the interventions necessary, which is kind of scary. But the fact is that there are interventions happening is comforting. Mm-hmm. were you told, have you been told what the grays actually are? Because the grays are the ones that most people know about.
Well, I've heard various theories, and when I speak about this, I'm not speaking from personal experience, at least none that I remember. So I'm reporting what many other people have said, and I've heard many theories. So some people have said that they might be time travelers from the future. That's one theory I've heard. Another theory is that they're just a different species from another place, and then lots in between. And what have you heard, Roberta?
We've heard that they're organic robots. They're not, in other words, got people. They're not actually, they're probes. They're basically not reproducing beings. Nobody would trust us with an actual being, but they're actually robots. That's what we've been told.
Okay, I have heard that, and it matches the description that many people talk about when they're taken aboard these crafts. Allegedly, the grays are often described in a robotic sense.
I don't know if it's real, but that's what we're. So basically, they disagree with some of the things you've been told.
Yeah, I think that aligns, and I do also wonder if there are different types of species. Yep. So, the gray, maybe many of them are robotic, but maybe there's some that are organic. Again, I haven't had the experience. I don't know. And I've just heard so many different stories.
Yeah. 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 But what we're told is that we're scary to most of the beings. There are a lot of different species in the universe, we're told. And there are a lot of different places in the universe where we can choose to incarnate, to have different experiences. There are a lot of kinds of beings we can choose to be. There's, for example, a planet where the life form, we all know about Bernardo Kastrup, who is hysterical. He's really a wonderful person. And I told him that we have been told that there is a life, actually a planet where all the life is silica based. And it's rock forms, and it's actually normal, only it moves very slowly. He said that was interesting because that would be a possibility that it wouldn't be, that life could be silica based. I don't understand how he would know that, but he said that. And which is fascinating to me, actually. And if that were the case, then life would move slowly if it was silica based. Think how slowly a rock would move and change. And there was another where the life was actually intelligent, but it was pond scum. And nothing like this would be recognizable to us as even possible to be intelligent life, or recognizable as intelligent life. But I suppose if you were evolving and you needed the experiences that could be achieved only by slowing down, then to experience life in a very much slower pace, that would be a way to achieve it, right? To have a 1,000-year lifetime as a rock. Well, that would be a way to achieve it. Or to have a life as pond scum, that would be a way to achieve it. I don't know. This is all anecdotal because it's all been given to us as anecdote, not as anything more than that. But it certainly does broaden your mind and freak it out a bit when you're told these things.
Well, conceptually, it does seem plausible. If we all exist as individuations of a universal consciousness to have a vast diversity of experiences, why would there be a limit on what the type of experience could be? So I'm very open to the many possibilities. And with regard to existences on other planets, even, that is something that's come up in past life research. Dr. Linda Bachman is someone I mentioned in my book who does past life regression hypnosis, and many of her clients spontaneously started talking about lives on other planets as non-human species. And that was actually not something she was interested in initially, but so many of her clients